China's reserves soared last month by almost $250 million to a record $2,650 billion. And that's now increasing pressure on Beijing to revalue its currency, the yuan. But at this weekend's conference of the Communist Party of China, the focus is on the country's 5-year plan and on spreading the wealth right across the country. Welcome to Agenda, and joining me this week to discuss this is Matt Gertken, Stratfor's East Asia analyst. Matt, what do you expect to come out of the Communist Party of China's conference?
Well, the most important thing we're looking at is the way that the 5-year plan is introduced. This is the 2011 to 2015 economic and social plan that's really a broad outline of what China hopes to achieve in that period. There's a number of economic reforms kind of on the table, but one of the real crucial issues here is whether China can rebalance its economy and shift away from the export-based driving economic model it's had for the past 30 years and really begin to develop the domestic consumption to drive growth in the future when external demand isn't as dependable.
Can this sort of plan really provide the answer?
Yeah, well, the 5-year plans are often very general, very kind of vague. They don't provide a lot of specifics, and those trickle out a little bit later when meetings come along. It is clear that there's going to be another surge in government investment, basically built around the idea of upgrading the manufacturing sector and pursuing high technology, upgrades there, as well as shifting the industrial base into the regional and non-coastal areas. This is part of the whole process of trying to redistribute that wealth and boost up the regions that are particularly lagging and where that lag has become a lot more socially disruptive because they're constantly looking at the wealth that's booming in China's major cities.
This is a really massive task. Have you any inkling as to how it might actually be carried out?
Absolutely. I mean, you have over 700 million rural inhabitants in China, all of whom, their average per capita income is 1/3 that of their urban counterpart. And at the same time, you've got this rapid urbanization. Basically 5% of the country is expected to move into the cities over the next 2 or 3 years, as incredible as that sounds. And that leads to a situation where land is being appropriated to develop quickly. You have people unhappy because they're not able to find, adequate social services. In particular, migrants who've moved in from the country, they're not granted urban residential status. That's something that, is being reformed, but it's so gradual. It's happening on the very careful, very cautious, and sometimes the halting method of Chinese reform.
Is there any real debate here, any discussion, any argument, any disagreement on the implementation of the plan?
One of the key issues that they point to is the need to boost household consumption. But this is a tragic tale if you look at the numbers. In 1990, about 50% of GDP came from household consumption, and today that's about 36%. So you've had this massive drop in the share of household consumption to the overall economy. Of course, raw household consumption has been growing over that time. But what it points to is the fact that really exports and investment have been the source of growth, and the benefit to the Chinese economy has not been in people's pocketbooks. And that's not something that you can turn around by having, your annual Communist Party meeting and simply announcing a new disposition towards accelerating, the current methods. You really need to do something drastic. You need to do something that will shift the balance quickly. And they're more and more aware of this with the weakening of demand in the EU and the US. But pursuing it is an entirely different question.
Now, of course, at the same time, you've had this quite extraordinary build-up in China's reserves. Is that an issue that's being discussed also?
Absolutely. The Communist Party has a variety of ideas, policy solutions, and competing ideas are being put forward all the time. The problem, of course, is that these debates are taking place often behind closed doors or, you know, in state media where the ideas are finessed in such a way that you have to look closely to really see where the disagreement lies. But there is absolutely a very intense, really almost a factional dispute that's broken out about whether the important thing to focus on is growth itself, or whether this slower economic plan that's built more around restructuring and trying to eliminate the real fundamental flaws that have built up over the past 20 years, 20 to 30 years, are addressed. So, you know, what I would say is that the key thing to watch for those debates is whether the emphasis is on social stability, eliminating the income gap between the urban and rural citizens or the different regions, or whether the emphasis is on the need, you know, to pursue further, you know, financial system liberalization, privatization of businesses, and especially the expansion of high-tech manufacturing, which of course is something that China really eagerly wants to take a bigger role in. But at the same time, it requires opening up some areas of the society that have, and interacting with the international community in ways that China is not always very comfortable with.
Matt, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. Matt Gertken, East Asia analyst of Stratfor there. Thank you very much for being with Agenda this week. Bye for now.